Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, my name is Anvita. I love to read books, I love to talk about books, and that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. Today is it's not October, it's November 1st, and so I'm going to be doing my October wrap-up for 2024. That's actually like wild to think about. Like, how are we already in November? Like, I feel like I say this almost every month, but time is going by so fast and it's actually insane. I feel like the fact, even like, yes, it's November and like we're almost at 2025, which is crazy in itself, but also like the fact that I moved to Dubai in July and it's November now. Like, it's been almost 4 months, which is crazy to think about. Like, it feels like it was like just now, kind of. But also like because Dubai is so, like, I've been here so many times before when my parents used to live here, like it doesn't feel like it's like a new city I'm exploring. Like, I already know the city pretty well, I feel like. So yeah, it's weird, but yeah, crazy that it's almost November. No, that it's already November and that it's almost 2025. And yeah, crazy. I'm gonna be turning 26 in a month, 2 months technically, but yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, anyways, yeah, anyways, let's start talking about all the books that I read in October. I had a pretty good month overall, I think. Like, the beginning of the month was pretty good because I was still in my really like fantasy, mystery fantasy, like, very Halloween-y, like October vibes. And then I had like a brief period of time where I wasn't really reading much. And so I was just reading one book, but it was taking like a lot of days to finish. And then suddenly, like, my mood completely switched. I don't know what happened, but some people will be happy to hear this, but I am finally back in my romance reading era. It's still like touch and go a little bit because, I mean, it started because of young adult romance, and I'm really enjoying young adult romances and the ones that I've read, but adult romances are still being like, not that great for me for some reason, because I don't know what it is. I just love young adult books more, I guess. So yeah, I think November is also gonna have a lot of young adult romances, hopefully. Like, yeah, I'm excited for that. So anyways, without further ado, let me talk about these books that I read in October and some other ebooks that I also read in October. So okay, first let me give you guys some statistics about my reading in October. So I read a total of 11 books in October, which I feel like is pretty good, especially considering that I was reading like really thick fantasy books for the first half of the month. And yeah, I don't know how I got here. Anyways, so 11 books in October and 4,068 pages. My top 3 moods were funny, emotional, and dark. Funny, I think, because of the romances and stuff, and then emotional because of romances and fantasy, and then dark because of fantasy, for sure. Mostly medium-paced books and some fast-paced books, no slow books. All the books that I read this month were fiction. I'm still trying to read more I have been reading actually nonfiction, but it's like most of the books that I'm reading for in terms of nonfiction is like books on writing and craft and like other, like self-help kind of books that I haven't really been putting on my thing because I'm reading them so slow, and like it's like I'm reading a bit of it but I'm not finishing them, so because I'm like getting what I want out of them already, so I just stopped reading them, I guess. But yeah, I'm not really logging those into my reading. So yeah, I have been reading nonfiction is what I will say. So my top three genres for October was young adult, romance, and contemporary. As I said, romance and contemporary I've read a lot in the last couple of days, and then young adult because of the fantasy and the romance. So yeah, and then yeah, a lot of physical books, but also a lot of ebooks. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 physical copies, and then 5 ebooks or audiobooks. So some of these physical ones also I read while listening to the audiobook. So yeah, I love audiobooks, so that's a given. Okay, my average rating was 3.82, which is not as high as it usually is. My ratings are always usually 4 and above. Like this month, yeah, it was touch and go with the couple romances, but overall good. And then this is what my reading looked like day to day. As you can see, I had a lot of, like, the first 24 days was literally just like reading fantasy books and like mystery books and stuff, and so they were taking me more time to read. And then I suddenly got in my romance binge, and then the end, those couple of days I read like 5-6 books in one go. So like a lot of the reading was done in the last couple of days. So yeah, that is all for the stats. Okay, let's start talking about all the books that I read in October. So the first book that I read, this is very not my usual read, and you will know this probably, but the first book that I read was The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. So I'm a part of this book club kind of that meets every Saturday, and it's very low-key, very casual and stuff, and usually we don't really pick books to read together. It's just like we go and like discuss the books and like talk about the books that we've been reading, and like just share books and like talk about books and recommend books to each other and stuff. And it's at a library, and then we go and read together at the library. And so I'm part of that group, and so we decided to try out doing this thing where we like pick an author each month, and then we read works by that author, and then like go in and like discuss them and stuff. And so not like a particular book, but just an author. And so October's author was Franz Kafka, and I haven't read anything by him. And so the book that was suggested that I should start with for Kafka was The Metamorphosis, which is why I ended up reading it. I do want to read his other works. I know I want to read like the Letters to Milena and like his diary entries and stuff, because I've seen some of those, like some on like Instagram, and I feel like I would enjoy those, like reading those, but I need to be in the right mindset also for it. But yeah, so the hold for those hasn't come through on my library app, and so I haven't had the chance to read them. But Metamorphosis was available, so I ended up reading that, and that's why it was my first book of October. It's a very short read. It's like 50-60 pages, basically about this guy who like wakes up one morning and suddenly like realizes he's suddenly turned into an insect, and like a huge insect, and basically just about how like that's like the premise of it, and like how like the family deals with it, and like how they try to like keep him a secret, or like, you know, whatever, and like how basically he goes from being like the breadwinner of his family and like the one respected and loved by his sister and his parents and stuff, to this like, you know, a secret that they're trying to hide, and like someone who's just being like dead weight to the family and like causing more problems and like things like that basically. And like it's like kind of like, I don't know if you guys know this, but like there's like that trend that was going on at some point, which was like one partner asking their other partner if like what they would do if they suddenly turned into a worm, and like, you know, seeing basically whether the love would still hold even if the person had turned into a worm. And so yeah, so it's kind of like that, but like in a very like extreme way, where like it's basically showing like the person does turn it, the main character does turn into an insect, and then like seeing how his family's love shifts because of that, kind of, and like just talking about society and how like, you know, just like commentary, I guess, on society and like the way people's value and like people's love for other people is kind of dependent on the value they bring to their relationship or to their, you know, to their lives basically. And so yeah, it was very interesting. It was something that made me think a lot for sure. And yeah, I do want to read his other works. I need to be in like the right mood for it and to actually grasp it, I guess. And so yeah, I read this one in 2 sittings or something. I think it was a very short read, so highly recommend. If you are looking into Kafka's works and wanting to start one of his books, I would recommend this one. So yeah, I will probably end up reading his other works at some point, maybe this year, maybe next year, but I will keep you guys updated. So yeah, anyways, next book that I read was this book. I started in September. Yeah, this book I started in September, but I ended up finishing in October just because I didn't want it to finish, and so I was like trying to prolong it basically. But Heir by Sabaa Tahir. Yeah, one of my favorites. Look at those annotations. Crazy. Yeah, this book was insane. Like, the world building is so good, and like, just I love her writing. I love her writing style. I love all 3 POVs. Like, it's just so well, the characterization is done so well, and even like the plot is done so well. Like, there's like, because usually a lot of fantasy books and stuff like only have like plot twists and like, you know, shocking moments towards the end, like the last half basically. But this was one of the rare few that was like literally like in the second half or like in the middle somewhere, there's like this one point where I was literally like, what? And then I could not stop, and I just like binged through the rest because it was so good. And the reveal, like, I guessed it a little, but like I hadn't guessed the main thing, I guess. I don't know how to put it without giving spoilers. Okay, I'd guessed the difference between the 3 POVs, but I hadn't guessed who, you know. Yeah, I'm not gonna say more, but highly recommend. I mean, if you haven't read Ember in the Ashes, you need to go read that first. I think this is really good as a standalone, and this is a really good book just by itself, but I feel like it will hit so much harder if you read Ember in the Ashes series before this, just because there are characters in this from those books, and like, you know, even though it's kind of explained like some things here and there, like about those characters' backstory, those backstories are fully present for you to read and, you know, cry about in the Ember in the Ashes series. So go read those if you haven't, and then go read this immediately. I need to know what happens. Yeah, the ending is also insane, and I need to know what happens next, and I need a release date for the second book. Yeah, crazy. But yeah, this is only a 2-book series. It's a duology, so go read it. There's not that much of a wait, I say that, but yeah, hopefully it'll be out next year. And yeah, Go read this. Go read Ember in the Ashes if you haven't, and then go read this because it is so good. It's so good. It's so well written too, and like just the characters are so good, and like the tension and the angst, and like there's so many tropes also in this that are some of my favorites. Yeah. And just revisiting those characters and like seeing them in this like 20 years later and how they're doing now is just, yeah, go read it. Okay, so the third book of October was my read for my book club, which is on Fable. The link is below if you want to join it. Yeah, Immortal Dark by tigest Girma. This book blew my mind. I blew my mind, lost my mind, like all of those, you know. This book was insane. Like, these are literally like not even morally gray characters. I would say they're morally black characters, kind of, because like they're doing terrible things, but I'm loving it. So yeah, it's about vampires. It's set in a college, in a university, and there's like dark things happening. There's a vampire, and then there's this girl who's trying to find her twin sister who she thinks this guy has kidnapped. And you know, there's like rules and stuff, like you need to like pass the class to be, and like this guy also is like about to inherit her family's house unless she passes the class and like stays in the house with him and like not let him take over basically. And so I'm like explaining this so badly, but it's so good. There's forced proximity because they have to live in the same house. There's, you know, enemies, like hatred, like it's actual, like the enemies are enemying. This is actual enemies. They like do shit to each other. They like, I'm not gonna spoil the specifics, but it's like actual enemies. They actually like hate each other and would probably kill each other, but like things change obviously, and then they become lovers. And yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Even though Halloween was yesterday, and by the time this comes out, like Halloween would have been over, if you're still in the mood for a vampire romance, read this. I will say, remember that these are not good people. These are not good people. They have objectively done bad things. And so I think that's one of the things a lot of people, I've seen the reviews and like mixed reviews on this, and it's like the reason people are not liking it because these people are not good. But like, I don't know, like I feel like if you had read the back, I guess, or like if you even like the first like couple chapters, you know going in that these are not good people. So I don't know, I feel like remember to go in with that mindset, because yeah. But this was very, very good. I'm again with this, I've made the mistake of reading the first book when the rest of the series is not done. So I will again be waiting sort of patiently for the next book. This one is a trilogy. The first book is out, and then the second book I think comes out next September. And so the third book will probably be out in 2026, around the second half of the year maybe. So yeah, there is a bit of a wait for this one, but it's so good. So I feel like you should I think you'll regret waiting to read this. So you should just do it, because there is like a big, like, I mean, not a big, but like there is a pretty like the ending is the kind where it's like, I want to know what happens next immediately, but like it's not like a cliffhanger, you know? So it's not like I'm like dying to know. Like I am, but like it's like manageable, I would say. So highly recommend. And this cover is just, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. I was reading this on Fable, and then I ended up going and buying the physical copy. I did a vlog of that. If you want to check it out, the link will be above. But yeah, I'm so glad I bought it because it's so pretty. I still haven't finished annotating from my Fable ebook, so hopefully soon, and then I'll post the annotations on my Instagram. Yeah, I need to catch up on that. I have been neglecting my Instagram a bit. But I will catch up on my posts soon. Yeah, okay. So the fourth book of October was another fantasy book, but a different side of fantasy, and this was a historical fantasy called A Song to Drown Rivers by Liang. This was, I think, her first historical book. I don't know if this is adult. Is this considered adult? But I know that this was, oh, I think it is adult. But yeah, I think this was her adult debut and her first historical fiction debut, because her other books that I've read, her other books that I've read are all young adult romances. So I was really looking forward to this, and I did enjoy it. Not as much as her young adult romances, I feel like, with the story of this. So basically, this is about this girl who is considered like the most beautiful person in the world. And so she catches the eye of the military advisor for the king, and he basically trains her to become a spy and go into the enemy kingdom and be a concubine for the king of the enemy kingdom, and basically gather intelligence, make him fall in love with her, and then gather intelligence to bring back to this king and the military advisor so that they can attack the enemy kingdom where she is and stuff. And so basically this just reminded me a lot of the movie Razi, if you've seen it. Like, it's a Bollywood movie. It's about this girl who like becomes a spy and then goes from India to Pakistan, and then marries one of the police officers or like someone high up, I guess, and like basically is sending back intelligence and stuff. That entire family that she marries into is like a police family, like high up in the Pakistan's thing. And so she like makes him they fall in love and stuff, and then she's like sending back intelligence and like all these things that she's finding out, so that if you don't know. But yeah, so that's basically Razi. And so the plot of this was kind of reminding me a lot about that in the beginning, and then I just kept expecting. I think my issue with this, and I think An Liang wanted this, is to have like the classic, like in K-dramas, if you watch K-dramas, but like there's always like the classic, like the main lead and then the second lead, and sometimes you keep rooting for the second lead. And so that's what I kept doing, because like, I don't know, like even though, I don't know, I feel like the relationship between the main guy and the main girl, obviously, and then the main guy wasn't established as much as I wanted it to, because it wasn't as established, it made me root for the other guy more. And like the ending, just like, obviously it was sad, and it was like all of the feelings I felt, all of the emotions around it I felt, but I still was hoping that it would have gone a different way. And yeah, it was good though. I do wish it was a little more fleshed out. I wish we'd gotten more about her training to become a spy, and then also just more of the years that she spent becoming the king's favorite, and like making him fall in love with her, to tell her all these secrets and like do things for her and stuff. Like, I wish we'd gotten more, because I feel like, especially with the training part and stuff, I feel like that would have been a good time for her to fall in love with, like to show how she's falling in love with him and stuff. Like those 3 months or whatever that she was training, like there was barely, it was barely shown, and I feel like that made it harder for me to root for them. Because like, also they didn't see each other for 2 years, and then she was with the enemy king the entire time. So like, in my head, it seemed more plausible for her to be in love with the king. Yeah. Anyways, I did enjoy it a lot, and I am excited to see what else she writes in adult books. But yeah, I think young adult romance of hers, like those I will always love, and I feel like after having read all of those, I know that I'm definitely going to like binge read those and love those. Like those are like my top, but this was really good too. Yeah. Love triangles are hard, and when it's like about the person you love versus the person who loves you, and like just the way it's shown also, it's like I just kept rooting for the other guy. I can't. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, that was the last fantasy book that I read. I moved on to like mystery, thriller, and mystery romance, thriller romance kind of. So yeah. So next book that I read, also another series I started, but this one I was told is each book in the series is about different characters. They're just all have the same theme kind of, and that's why they're a series. And so I was like, okay, good, because I only have the first book of this series. So I read that, and now I'm gonna wait a bit, I think, before I read the others, because I don't want to buy any books right now. So, and my birthday is coming up, so maybe I'll do a birthday book haul for that, and then I'll buy it then. We shall see. But the next book that I read was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. This is book 1 of 4 books in the series. This is another one of the books that I've been playing catch up with. If you didn't know, I hadn't read a lot. I'd read like 2 books in like all of college basically, and so I've been, all those years that I missed out, like the books that came out then, I've been trying to play catch up, and this was one of the books that came out while I was in college, or like right, like I think in 12th grade or something, and so I wasn't reading much, and so yeah, playing catch up because I've heard so much about this and about the main guy. What's his name? Thomas Cresswell? Yeah, Thomas. Yeah, so I've heard a lot about the series. I've heard about a lot about this book especially, and about like Audrey Rose and Thomas, and I feel like I would have eaten this up if I'd read it at the time that it had come out, because this does sound like my kind of thing. And like I don't know, because back then I was not reading any mystery like thriller kind of books, and this is not really scary, like it's not giving mystery thriller, but I feel like in that period of time it would have felt that way to me, because I hadn't read many mystery thriller books at that time, and so I don't know if I would have read it. But I think the romance aspect I would have loved and eaten it up back then. In this, like at this moment, it just felt very like, it was just like a lot of banter back and forth, but like it never really established or deepened the connection between the two. It was just like a lot of like dialogues and stuff to make it seem like, you know, they're as much in love as they're like trying to show, but it didn't come off that way to me. Like, and also just like, I mean, I guess, I don't know, I was giving Thomas a bit of a benefit of the doubt, just because this is set in the 1800s, I think, or 1900s. Let me see. This is set in the late 1800s, and you know, some of the comments Thomas made did not seem as, you know, because like there was like all these men in Audrey Rose's life that were like stopping her from doing things, or like saying things about how she dresses, or like things like that, and like he wasn't. So like she was giving him more like, oh, look at this guy, he's not like stopping me from doing this and that. But like some of the things he was saying too were like not, you know, not the best. And so it was like, I don't know, like it just, I don't know. I think because of the time period, it was like, oh yeah, he's better than the others and like more, you know, for women or whatever. But it did not come off that way to me, because there were still some things that he was like, yeah. And also, other than the mystery, other than the romance aspect that I felt was very surface level, the mystery of it, I had guessed from like very early on, like barely 50 pages in, I think. Like I knew who it was, and like when it happened, like it confirmed it, and like, yeah, I knew. So it was a slow read because of that, because I already knew, and like I was just trying to see, like connect the dots and like figure out as they were going on, but I knew. So there is that. Yeah, I didn't know how it would end, or how I didn't know how it would end in the sense of not the reveal, but like what happens after the reveal. But yeah, I'd guessed who it was, who Jack the Ripper was in this. And then also, like, yeah, but it was still fun to read, I feel like. And like, because I'm not that aware about Jack the Ripper and his, like in the real life, like all that stuff. But seeing like the letters and stuff, like, and like seeing that they are taken exactly as the real ones were, like those kind of things were very interesting to read about. So yeah. And I have been told by other people also that other books in this series are better than this one. I think people said the second and the fourth are the best, or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but people did say that this one wasn't their favorite. So yeah, I have hopes, and I will be continuing the series at some point. Yeah. Okay, next I moved on to a thriller book, How to Kill a Guy in 10 Ways by Kellman. If you saw my library vlog, you saw me reading this one. I was hoping for it to be a faster, quicker pace book, but for some reason, it took me a while to read this one. Like, it took me a while to get through this one, I guess, because, I don't know, it's just, whenever I've read other thrillers, like, in this kind of, like, thing, there's not been, like, this one felt kind of different, I would say, just because there was like, I mean, in the other ones and stuff, like all the people that were being killed and stuff had objectively done bad things, but in this, like, it like slowly transforms into like her definitely, the main character being definitely the one in the wrong, and like basically her slow descent into madness and being a serial killer. And so yeah, it was interesting. I did enjoy it. It overall, the story was really good, and like I liked the premise that she was like, she started a hotline for women to save them in case like men were following her, or men were like spiking their drinks or like doing something to them and stuff. And so I enjoyed that part, but like that part was good, like the storyline was good and everything, and then the slow descent of madness towards the second half of this book was pretty crazy to read about, which is why I think it took me a while. I did switch over to audiobook, I think around midway through this book, and that made it easier to read and quicker too. But yeah, this one was interesting. I don't know, I feel like I've read better thrillers than this, and like more morally better main characters. Yeah, so I don't know if I would recommend this, but it was a pretty good read overall. So yeah. The next book was my 7th book of October, and that was Rules for Rule Breaking by Talia Tucker. This was what started my romance era again, what started my young adult romance era again. Yeah, this came through on hold from my Libby app, and so I was like, why not? I just finished a book that was taking me a while to finish. Let me read some cute, romance book and see if I actually enjoy it. And so I read it, and I ended up reading it in like 2 sittings, and it would have been 1 sitting, but like I ended up doing something, and otherwise it would have been 1 sitting. Like I started it in the day and just like flew through it like the entire day and finished it at night and then went to sleep. So technically it was in 1 day, but yeah, it was so fun. I read it on Libby as an ebook, and it was just so fun. It was set in a road trip. There was these 2 childhood family friends, not friends as in like they weren't friends, but their families were friends, and they kept trying to get them to be friends and stuff. And so yeah, it's like the summer before 12th grade, like senior year of high school, and then they go on a road trip together to go visit colleges that they're thinking of applying to and stuff. And they didn't want to go together. They were forced into it and all of that stuff. And so they are also very, like, they're top of the class, they're rivals and stuff in school. She's the top, and I think he's the second and in school. And yeah, so they've just been very like goody two shoes all their lives, never broken a rule, and like set rules for themselves and things like that basically. And so basically her the female main character, her grandmom was like, you guys are so good, that's why they're like your parents are letting you guys go together, because they think you're never gonna do anything wrong and you're never gonna break any rules. And so they decide to create rules to break rules and like do things that they've never done before, and like basically live life, because they've just been studying and like trying to be trying to get into good colleges and things like that, basically trying to be the top. And so they create rules and they go on this trip and start breaking them, and then the rivalry and like stuff turns into lovers and like all of that stuff. It's good. I feel like some of the things like was really done well, like family dynamics, Asian family dynamics and things like that was done well. I think the friendship part was done well between the female main character and her friend. I think that was done well. I think the romance was a little lacking for me, just because the build-up was good and stuff, but like I feel like the banter and stuff that happened was like in the beginning, that was like showing their rivalry and stuff, felt very like a little superficial. Like it felt like just banter and not like it was like with someone that they've grown up with and known for all these years kind of. So that was a little bit, but other than that, I did really enjoy it. I like flew through it. It was a quick, fun, cute read. Yeah, highly recommend. I'm excited to read more books by this author for sure. Yeah. And then, so because I got into my YA young adult romance era, I wanted to check out more books, and I couldn't find any that I was interested in reading on my bookshelf. And so I was like, let me go on Libby, see what's available now, and then go read those. And so I ended up reading Ali Hazelwood's first young adult book, which was Check and Mate. This is more kind of new adult, because they've both come out of school. They're both 18, I think, or 18 or 19 or something. And so they're both not, I think she's 18 and he's 19. And so it's new adult technically, but it has like a YA aspect to it, which is why I ended up reading it and enjoying it a lot. Ali Hazelwood's books I've always loved. I haven't read one that I've actually not enjoyed so far. So I knew I would most probably love this one, and so ended up reading it, and I did. This is again Rivals to Lovers, but in terms of chess, and I love reading about chess even though I don't know how to play it, and just like the competition vibes of it, and like even the family dynamics in this was done so well, and like just yeah, it was done very 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 well, and like I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, but I love the chemistry between the two main characters. I loved seeing how obsessed he was with her, and like just all those, yeah, just their relationship and their talk, their banter, but also their like different conversations and stuff. I loved all of it. Yeah, I think it was really good. Yeah, so this book again just like cemented the fact for me that I will most probably enjoy Ali Hazelwood's future works as well. So yeah, anyways, after this I went through my ebooks that I already have with me, and so then I found another one that I wanted to read for a while, but I hadn't because I wasn't in the right mood for it yet. And this was also a young adult romance, but it's queer and it's set in like Regency era, and so it has like King Arthur lore and like things like that. Yeah, this book is called Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. I enjoyed this. I think for me the hype for this was so much because I'd seen, like, every time I'd seen this book on Bookstagram and stuff, like everyone was talking about how good it was and it was like the best book ever. Like everyone was raving about it basically, and so my expectations were really really high for this, but it didn't meet them, sadly. But without thinking about those expectations, this was really really good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the queer aspect in Regency books in general. I think one of the other issues was for me that like I had been reading all these contemporary romances, which made it harder for me to get into the Regency mood, I guess. But other than that, like, it still did get me into that mood, and like I enjoyed it. And like I feel like what I was hoping for was more at the end. I wanted to see how it would go about. Like, I know they were going to bring it into legislation or whatever, but like I wanted to see how it would turn out, like, or like get an epilogue or like a better epilogue with that in place, I guess. And yeah, I feel like it was fun. I enjoyed seeing the hatred between the two main characters into, actually liking each other and like becoming such good friends and stuff. And then just, yeah, the twist with the queer take on it and like all that stuff was really fun. Yeah, I think it was funny, and I think the characters were really what like made me love the book. I think for some reason though, like I was expecting more, which like because of the expectations that were set because of Bookstagram. So if I didn't know about those, and if I just had gone into it blind, I guess it would have been much better for me. Yeah, but I do highly highly recommend it because it was still really good, and I did love it. So yeah. Okay, next I moved on to trying some adult romances in the hopes that this would be, that my romance era wasn't back just for my YA books, but also for adult books. I think it is back in general with like all kinds of romances, but I am still enjoying young adult way more. Yeah, I don't know. It's like seeing like my favorite tropes in young adult books is way more fun than seeing them in adult. Like I haven't read any adult books actually, I feel like, that has rivals to lovers in it, but most of the young adult books will have that with like academic rivals to lovers, or like, you know, other like chess or like whatever. So I feel like that is why it's more enjoyable for me to see them in young adult and like to read young adult books, because there's like the nostalgia vibe to it, I guess, that makes me think about my high school and college days and stuff. Yeah, and young adult is just so fun and like hopeful, kind of. I don't know what it is, but I did read 2 romance books that were adult books, and those were the last 2 books that I read in October. And so the first one that I read was another Ali Hazelwood book, and that was Not in Love. Yeah, this I had no idea was an erotic romance before I ended up reading it, and I found out through reviews that it was. I mean, I guessed it when I was reading it, but then through reviews it was confirmed that it was. I still enjoyed it. I feel like for me, I skip through or like skim through a lot of the spicy scenes because I don't really care for those. So other than that, I did enjoy it. I feel like there are like, I feel like the characters were done pretty well, and like they're like, you know, the way they express themselves because of their backstory and stuff made a lot of sense, and like that was like the point of it. And like I think it made sense a lot also in terms of how their relationship started versus how it evolved and why it is an erotic romance. I think because of their backstory and like how they've become who they've become, like it made a lot more sense for them to have found love in this manner, I guess. Yeah, I enjoyed also the science part of it. The, you know, I love reading about the STEM part of it, and so reading about like the food technology stuff, food nanotechnology, whatever that they were talking about and stuff. I think it also reminded me a little bit of the K-drama Business Proposal, because the female main character in that is also doing something in food nanotechnology, I think. Yeah, so that was fun, but like also just the science aspect of it was fun. This had less science aspect because it was also a lot to do with like the business and like the company and like all that stuff, which was interesting in the fact that like the storyline, but like I don't really personally care about that kind of stuff. So other than that, I did enjoy it. I liked how obsessed he was with her. Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, I did enjoy it overall, and I think I don't know if erotic romance is something I would generally pick up much. I have picked up a couple before and stuff, but like I always tend to just skip through or like skim through the spicy scenes. So other than that, like I do enjoy the books. So, and sometimes it's just nice to like not think about things and like leave your brain and like have your head empty and just read a book and like just, you know, binge through them, I guess. So yeah, but I enjoyed it. I listened to this as an audiobook as well while reading it, and so that was fun as well, to see like the different voices and stuff and like their narration. Yeah, overall a good book. I would recommend, but I do think I like her other books more than this one. I do enjoy like her love series. Like I enjoyed Love Theoretically the most from what I remember, and Love on the Brain was also really good. Love Hypothesis also good, but like for me, Love Theoretically is like the best one, and then Love on the Brain, and then Love Hypothesis. And I think those were better than this, just for my preference and what I like, I guess. And so yeah, I would recommend those more. I would recommend Check and Mate more because I enjoyed that also a lot. And yeah, even her like novella series, Loathe to Love You, were pretty fun. I would recommend that as well. But yeah, this was super fun too. I'm excited to read more of her works. I'm excited to listen to that audiobook one that just came out, Two Can Play, I think, or something like that. Yeah, excited about that as well. Yeah, anyways, the last book that I read in October was The Breakup Pact by Emma Lord. This was, let's see, this is another adult romance. This is, I think, the author's adult debut, because I've read all of her other works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I've read all of her other books, and so all of her other 5 books I've read, and each, from what I remember, has been either young adult or new adult, so like either set in high school or set in college. And this one was her first adult. I think they're in like their 30s or like late 20s or something. And yeah, I enjoyed this one again just as much as all the others. I think this one was still less for me in some ways, because it's like some of the things, like the characteristics of the characters, were things that they were like trying to, like the issues that they had when they were 18 were still the issues that they were having when they were whatever age they are in the book. And like we were supposed to see like some character growth where they stopped that, and we did see it in some ways towards the end, but like I feel like the gradual process of that was like only seen towards the end, and it was like way quicker, I guess, like, and it only happened because of the third act conflict, which I wish we'd seen like a progress or like a gradual, you know, working towards that, which we didn't get. But I did really enjoy like the whole revenge exes plot of it, and like how they were like doing all of that. But like for me, it also kind of felt, I don't know, like the fact that they'd just been broken up with a week before, and suddenly like they are doing this, like I feel like it wasn't a slow like change from like, oh, they are like faking it and like, you know, being the revenge exes who are dating each other now, towards like, you know, falling back in love with each other or whatever. It was like from the get-go, it was like they weren't playing pretend at all, and they were back in love, or like, you know, back to feeling all the feelings. And like it makes sense in a way, because that was something they had always felt growing up. But like I still wanted to see, because like it's like, then what's the point of the 10 years that they spent with other people? Like they'd just been broken up with from people who they've been dating for 10 years, and suddenly they're like completely over that and back in, you know, falling in love with their first love or whatever. I don't know. It just felt like I wanted to see some gradual progress, and not like from the get-go. Like it felt very instant in a way, even though technically it's not, because this is not someone that they're meeting for the first time. So I don't know. It was interesting. Yeah, again with this also, like being a new adult debut, like I did enjoy it, but I think I still love her young adult books more, and like the banter and everything, all of that in that hits way harder for me, and like I enjoy it way more. So yeah, I will read more adult books that Emma Lord puts out, but yeah, hopefully the next one will be more up my alley, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, for me, her young adult I will always favor over her adult books, I feel like, unless the next book changes my mind, which yeah, I feel like in general, even not considering the authors themselves, in general I prefer young adult romance more over adult romance. And so that's why with like Anne Liang's books, and like even Emma Lord, and like all the and Ali Hazelwood, I've been enjoying their young adult books a lot, and not as much their adult books. Yeah. With Ali Hazelwood, it's different because it's like I read her adult books before, and like that's when I was already in my romance era and I was loving adult books and like all of that. So I feel like I don't know if I would enjoy those as much now because I'm not in that mood anymore. So yeah. Anyways. That was all the 11 books that I read in October, and yeah, and that was all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am hoping yeah, it's crazy. November's here. November's gonna be a pretty busy month for me because I'm gonna be focusing on writing a lot. For more information on that, you can check out my podcast that I've been working on with my friend Gitanshi, who on Instagram is @book.noted. Our podcast is called At Characters Like Us. There's a link for the YouTube channel and the Spotify podcast page in the description below, so you can check that out. But yeah, we're gonna be focusing on writing, and I'm gonna be focusing on writing more of my book. And so I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done. I'm still hoping to read a few. I'm currently in the middle of a book, and so that I will finish in November for sure. And like, yeah, hopefully I will still read a couple books, but mostly gonna be focusing on writing. So we shall see. I will let you guys know during my November wrap up how my reading went for this month. But yeah, you should, if you're interested in reading and writing and listening to podcasts about those things, check out the podcast. The link is below. Characters Like Us pod. Yeah, that was all for this video. I will see you guys next week, Monday, 5 p.m. IST, as always. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have a lovely day and a great November 2024. Bye.